Hey guys, it's Mason from First Mosh, and today we're on our third album review. We're going to review the name I'm about to horribly mispronounce, sigur valtari. I think that's right. I don't know. I'm ignorant in the ways of Icelandic, and I don't enjoy it. So, sigur are an Icelandic post-rock um, ambient type band who've been around for about 20 years now, I think. Just about 20 years. And they recently just came back on a long hiatus and released their new album. Well, newish. I haven't really done the newest album yet. Well, this is their newest album. What am I talking about? So, this one, this album came back, as I said, it came back after the hiatus, and is a lot more ambient than stuff they've done in the past. They've done a lot of post-rocky type stuff, and started endeavoring in a bit of ambient, but this from this album you can tell that they're starting to go a bit more in an ambient direction, less than a post-rock type direction in their music. Uh, they've they've had like one pure ambient thing before, but it was just a single, and I don't think that necessarily counts. So when you first listen to this track, you're gonna notice that there's a lot of walls in it. Um, for about the first 4 and 5 tracks, there's is going to be a consistent wall of not noise, but a wall of music throughout this. It's mainly done with the strings, the bass, a bit of piano, and a bunch of other effects and add-in instruments. I think I heard an organ and a bit of noise there in the first 2 tracks. So I can't really explain everything they did. But for the first about 4 tracks, they had big walls, a lot of strings, a lot of piano, really nice, not heavy bass, but deep, booming, bouncing bass that was really, had a really nice touch in there. The vocals in it, they may seem quite annoying if they were just left alone, but the vocals added on to the first 4 gave it a big ambient sort of haunting thing to it. The vocal, and it just really worked. The biggest problem I had with it was that they would be playing along and they would build to something without having a direction of building to begin. For and that's a bit annoying because it just gets to the cinematic bit from nothing. Well, from what they're just playing. And if you're used to listening to bands like Sun or Suno as some people call them, it gets really annoying because they take a long time to build up and then get to it, then come back down. They just go and build. Like for the first track, for they will just they're just playing and then they go straight to the climatic cinematic bit with no real preparation of it or really any expecting of it. The fifth track does the same, except I think they use a different vocalist. I'm not sure, or the vocalist doing a different thing in it. But this time it's a lot more melodic and not quite so haunting in the vocal time. It still does the same pattern where they're going to be playing their things, they're going to be using a lot of thick wall strings, bit of piano in there, and bass and everything, and just build up and thing. But the vocals are slightly different, and they're actually really nice. This is a really nice touch of vocals in it. It's a bit interesting to hear how they're mixing up the vocals after doing a certain type of vocals for 4 songs. Now, after track 4 is when the album starts to go down a bit. Because the first four were really good, and then after that, they started going downhill and were not quite as good. Well, it's like they took out the walls in there, and now you're going to where the piano is the main guiding piece of music, which is fine. But after you're used to hearing the wall of strings and just wall of music, we're not using wall of noise, and that can be mean for use of a lot of other types of music. But they just took out the wall, and it was a lot lighter, not quite as thick sounds and stuff like that, and it just doesn't sound quite as nice as well. It was much. The wall basically gave it a real character into it, making the tracks go downhill, and it just doesn't sound as nice. By track 7, you're getting really kind of now bored with it, because on track 7, there is no. The track is the longest on the album, being over 8 minutes long. It's not quite as. And it's not up to scratch with all the other ones. Um, you have a lot of different sounds like church bells and just added effects in it. There are no vocals in it, and there's no wall and very many strings in it. There's kind of piano doing a bit of a somber thing in there, but it had the same pattern as all the other ones. So you start to notice a pattern after 7 songs of playing along, get to a big climax, then finish out. So you kind of know what to expect, and you think they would have fixed it by now, but they kind of didn't, and it just didn't really work out. But track 8 is when they change everything up. It's just an emotional, ambient, somber piano piece, which is really nice. It is one of the most ambient tracks on this album. It's just a really good thing. Because most of the album, I know I'm kind of quoting the needle drop here in a bit, but he, but the album doesn't really tug anything like how ambient should. But this was sort of like tugging at you a bit, which making it feel really, really nice. Um, Overall, I would say it's a good first effort for sigur who are just now tapping into doing more ambient type music and stuff like that. It's definitely their most chilled out and live sounding album up to date. My favorite track on the album would probably be the 5th track, and I'm not going to even attempt to pronounce it. While the worst being about track 7. Overall, I think I'm gonna give this album 7. It was a good album for the first 4 songs, and then number 8. Then everything would have let it down, and it wasn't really touching into the ambient as well as it could have. It was definitely a first effort on their part, but I think as time goes on, they keep going down this path, their stuff can get better and better, and rather than what we have right now. So that's it. Look, leave a comment if you to tell me what you should do next, and give us a thumbs up.